Well, shalom, my name is Todd Bennett, and I'd like to consider this to be a sort of part two to the previous teaching that I did on Hanukkah. During that teaching, I talked about whether Hanukkah is something that people who follow Yeshua the Messiah should celebrate or observe. And I specifically warned that it's not an appointed time, it's not commanded in the scriptures. So this is one of those areas where we are free to either act or not act as long as we are conducting ourselves in line with the Torah and the commandments of Yahuwah. Now, I warned also that the celebration of Hanukkah is susceptible to Saturnalia influences because it's so close in proximity to Christmas. And to many, Hanukkah is simply a Jewish substitute for Christmas, so we need to be very careful. Nevertheless, when we look at history, we can see that there is much more than simply a festival of lights, as some refer to it. In fact, it's clear that the events originally commemorated by Hanukkah were a fulfillment of the prophecy in Daniel. It involved an incredible series of events that we would all do well to remember, and Yeshua essentially gave his stamp of approval by being in Jerusalem on Hanukkah, also known as the Feast of Dedication. So the conclusion of the previous teaching was that it's okay to celebrate Hanukkah if we remember its prophetic significance in light of our faith and belief in the Messiah. So then the next question that people ask is, well, how do we celebrate Hanukkah? You see, people want to know about all these traditions. Do you light a Hanukkah or a menorah? Do you light one candle a night or all candles at once? Which direction do you light the candles? What do you eat during Hanukkah? What prayers do you say? And of course, these are very similar to the types of questions that I get when people start to observe the Shabbat. They want to do it right. And so they're looking for guidance. They would like a model or some sort of example on how to do things. And the problem is, again, Hanukkah is not a commandment. It's not an appointed time. So we don't find these answers in the Torah, and so often we are looking for traditions of men. And that is where we get into problematic areas. You see, these types of questions start to develop traditions or reinforce traditions that are not in the Torah, and especially these examples, these traditions associated with Hanukkah. The point of the last teaching was that we should remember the historical event within its proper historical context. And I was not encouraging anyone to celebrate the holiday by incorporating any of the Jewish traditions associated with Hanukkah. As we read in Maccabees, the Hanukkah celebration was actually a rejection of Western pagan influences, and it involved tearing down the defiled altar and rebuilding the altar of Yahuwah. It involved cleansing the temple and restoring true worship according to the Torah. And these are all exercises and practices that followers of Yeshua in Western Hellenized cultures can learn from and actually participate in every day. So an 8-day reminder each year is not necessarily a bad thing, but how do we celebrate this in a meaningful way that keeps us focused and actually leads to change in our lives? You see, when we just start following traditions that other people have developed and other religions have developed, it easily takes our focus from the true purpose of the celebration and the remembrance. So we want to make sure that if we celebrate, if we remember, that it has meaning and purpose. So does it involve simply reading Maccabees, reading the history, and remembering what occurred in the past? Does it involve special prayers or nothing at all? And of course, the answer is that it's up to you. Again, remember, this is not a commanded appointed time. So you can either find value in this time or not. That is completely up to you. You don't have to celebrate Hanukkah, and you don't need to participate in any traditions. Traditions are not always a bad thing, but I recommend that the followers of Yeshua who decide to celebrate Hanukkah do so with fresh oil. Remember that Yeshua the Messiah sent his Spirit to fill us and to guide us in the ways of the Torah. He gave his disciples the power to bind and loose, which meant they had the authority to interpret the Torah. And again, Hanukkah is outside of the Torah, but it's consistent with the fact that if we can find guidance for the Torah through the set-apart spirit, then so too for this special time in history. So with the oil of the Spirit, we should be set apart from the traditions of Rabbinic Judaism. We want those in Rabbinic Judaism, and everyone for that matter, to see the Messiah in and through us. And that will never happen if they simply see us copying the traditions of Rabbinic Judaism. In fact, that's when they start to try to convert people into Judaism to show them how it's done right. They'll show you how to do the traditions properly because you don't really know their traditions. So my observance of Hanukkah this year involved reading, studying, and reflecting on the past, and actually then preparing the Hanukkah teaching that I could share with others. That was my remembrance. And I also spent time examining myself and my temple and tried to get cleaned up and restored by getting some of the clutter and the debris out of my life. And my family and I didn't have any formal celebration, nor did we have any traditions that we followed this year. But I will tell you that it was a powerful time of learning and separation from the cultural influences that surround me and my family. And so the question is, have you let your altar become defiled? Does your temple need cleaning? If we use this time wisely, Hanukkah can be a great exercise and a reset as we look forward to Passover and another cycle of the appointed times. So I would encourage you to set aside all traditions that you may have observed in society, that you may have been tempted to jump into, and start afresh and prayerfully answer those questions that I just posed to you. And through the Spirit, may you find this to be a special time of reflection, renewal, and restoration. Shalom.